I'm Piercy Janwell, and you're listening to Unsubscribed. Every episode, I sit down with business leaders to help you question everything you thought you knew about marketing. If you enjoy this show, please do subscribe and leave a review on YouTube or your favorite podcast player. Now, on to this episode. My guest today is Kimi Corrigan. Kimi's an award-winning marketing operations leader, mom, coffee connoisseur, and an Olympic weightlifter. She's currently the Vice President of Marketing Operations and Strategy at Expel. She's an operational leader who loves blending people, process, and technology to make magic. And fun fact, Kimi and I were in the same Marketo champion class for several years, and I'm sure we have a lot of matching Marketo swag. So Kimi, welcome to the Unsubscribe podcast. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. I do feel like this is a bit of like, we grew up together and it's like a 20-year reunion. We're like, hey, we're all grown up now. What are you up to? Like, we were all kids together.
Absolutely. It's amazing how time flies. I still have a lot of my Marketo swag. Do you have any? And what is your very important first question? What's your favorite Marketo swag that you ever got?
I mean, I don't think you can compete with the Snuggie. Like, the Marketo Snuggie came out when Snuggies were like still like a wild concept. Like, they were out, but like it was kind of a joke to have a Snuggie. And then when Marketo came out with them, we were just like, hell yes, we have purple Marketo Snuggies. I remember like putting it on at Summit at the Champs booth. I think there's a picture of it somewhere that Jessica or someone has. So that one just felt like it's like a moment in time where like swag converged with this like thing in culture that is like a joke, but also like Snuggies are still pretty amazing to use and have. So that's like probably my biggest coveted like item I had and that I still find really special.
I still have mine and I might wear it from time to time. All right, into a bit more serious stuff here, but I just love how everyone has a very unique path on how they got into marketing operations. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't really a thing when you and I started out on that. And I love hearing the stories of what kind of random and twisting scenarios led them to op. So can you share ours? Can you share yours with us?
Yeah, it's been such a journey. So I started out, I was in a role at like an RFP and proposal software company. So it was like my first SaaS company. I joined as like a corporate marketing manager. So I was doing a little bit of everything back then. Like that was like my big role going from a marketing coordinator to this corporate marketing manager. I was doing everything, PR, trade shows, all kinds of stuff, a little bit of design. And my boss at the time said, hey, we have this tool here called Salesforce. I'm going to teach you how to run a Salesforce report. So like that was my first foray into like any system and process and like just like using data to do something. And I remember like this light bulb kind of like going off like, holy crap, what is this? So I kind of started getting more into that. And we had a platform at the time called Silverpop, which at the time was like Engage B2B or V-Trends or something. And then it was Silverpop. So I was like, I want to learn how to use this Silverpop system. I did. And then we merged with a competitor who used Marketo. So we had to go through our first, like, which tool are we going to use as this new company? So that was just like a little piece of my job, but I just remember really loving it. And then we ended up going with Marketo. And then like from then on, it was like game over. This is all I want to do. I was obsessed with reading the Marketo community posts, which at the time was probably like 20 of us just posting questions and answering each other's questions. But I would read literally every post, even if I didn't understand what they were talking about. I was like, there'll be a day where this like comes back where I can be like, I remember reading about that. So as that became more and more my day to day, I just knew like, I want to do this. How do I do this all day? Not just a few mornings a week when we need something. So I started looking for roles that had that. And I found a company that was willing to be like, great, we'll hire you as a full-time marketing automation specialist, because they were looking to move from Silverpop to Marketo. And I was like, I've done that. I know how to do that. So I convinced them to like take a chance on hiring this role they had never had. And then I got to do that full time. And then I got to hire an additional person to help me. And it just kind of started expanding from there. And at the time, it was really just marketing automation. That's how I think most of us started, of becoming these platform experts. Then it just grew as I joined Duo Security a number of years ago. I was the first marketing operations manager there, and then I built a team over a number of years. But it was just, once it clicked for me, it was like, I can never do anything else for a living. This is, whatever this is at whatever level, it has to be in this, because it just made so much sense in my brain.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing stories like that, and I can remember my own of like the first time I ever saw like in email engagement reports, and that was like back when I was direct mailing people and had no idea if anyone was even opening these letters I was sending. So yeah, it's amazing.
That's with like bringing people in. Like I worked with a demand gen team. I was their automation specialist, but
Yeah.
I created these weekly challenges called the Smarty Awards, where like I would give them a description of a list, and then they would go build the smart list in Marketo, and then I would look at how they built the list and then tell them like why this list is the best way based on the filters. And like I just wanted more and more people to understand like the raw power of a tool like Marketo or another automation system, of like, you guys, like this is so cool. Like I want everyone to get so pumped about this. Not everyone does, but so special, I think.
So you found kind of your passion. You decided, hey, I want to find a job where I can do this full time.
Yeah.
And then you went on to build and lead teams of entire teams who do that full time. Can you talk to me maybe a little bit more about your own career evolution and how you moved into management, and like, was that something you also wanted to do, or did that kind of happen over the years where you got a lot more experience?
I think on one hand, it happened organically. Like the first time I hired another marketing operations specialist to work with me, just because of sheer workload, it became a really natural, like, let me teach you everything I know about this. And then, of course, those people tend to then go on and do that and then do it even better than you ever could, which is the best. So I think it happened naturally of just like, let me share this. And I found a few people who wanted to nerd out with me, and we had the work to spread across multiple people. But then there was also part of me who, I would say, I've always been a leader. I've always craved leadership. I have a problem pausing before I talk. I literally have a Post-it that says, wait, and then count to 5 and then speak, basically, because I just get so excited about sharing whatever it is. So I think leadership has always been something I've gravitated towards. I tend to be a little controlling and bossy in the best way possible, I hope. So it just kind of converged naturally. There was work to go around. I was the person there that needed to build a team. And the more I did that, and the more I kind of, as much as I love to be in the weeds, the more I stepped out of the weeds, the more effective I felt like I was. I was able to see the bigger picture. I was able to talk to cross-functional leaders and then translate that to my team, and then also translate my team's work to other people so that they could understand how it impacts them or their systems, or how the holistic process should work. So, yeah, it just kind of happened naturally. And I love it. And I love leading marketing ops teams. I love seeing the people on my teams do a better job at that work than I was ever capable of doing. I also think the technology has come a long way to help them do that. I still remember when, Marketo didn't have the concept of programs. It was just like everything was in the design studio. So it's really exciting to see what people can do in this vocation these days. It's really impressive. And I probably had a moment of being somewhat threatened by it when I started building teams. And then as soon as I realized that was my gift to help bring those people into the profession and help them see the bigger picture, I was like, awesome. Like, please go do this better than I can. And I can help remove roadblocks for you because I've been there before.
That's amazing. And when you look at scaling an ops team? Like, obviously, it probably depends how big the company is and, how quickly you want to grow. But what would you say are kind of those main roles on the ops team? And
Yeah.
how do you look at that?
Yeah, when I joined Expel, where I'm at currently, I just joined at the beginning of the year. And last year, when I started talking to the leadership about the marketing ops function and what it would look like for me and what those roles would be, I kind of was like, you have nothing to lose. This is an open conversation. Like, don't worry about getting this role, because it wasn't really a role that was open, but it was like, if you get this role, like, really, what would your dream team look like based on this company size, based on the goals that we have? So I did that. I just kind of put it all on paper and said, here's what I would want the team to look like. And this would be a super effective team. This would be a competitive edge to have a team that is built this way. So luckily I got the green light and I'm doing it. I'm kind of living my dream right now that I laid out. But for me, the way I'm building my team here at Expel, and I see other people who have the resources and the need for this size doing this, of platform ops and campaign ops are two very distinct teams to me. Most marketing ops people have done all of the above and everything under the sun, and that can be really tough. But I just feel like the ability to have someone focused on platform ops and to not have the whiplash of being like, I'm building a lead lifecycle program at 9 o'clock this morning, and then I have to swivel and build an intricate webinar direct mail program because it's urgent and I have to step away from this other work. It just feels like making a distinction between those two things gives both of those roles like the space to be strategic and creative about the work that they're doing. And they're not constantly just thinking about what's coming next, what fire drill is coming, because those things will come, but at least it's in their purview that they're super focused on. I can give my platform ops team hours and hours of uninterrupted time to dig into data problems, to follow the breadcrumbs through lots of activity logs, to build what they need to build to do there. Same thing with campaign ops. They're not worried about something breaking in the system from a data perspective that will cause them to rush through building programs that should have a very strategic eye, or spending time building our templates and tokens to scale up and make repeatable programs super easy. So on the marketing ops side of my team, I'm very committed to that platform ops, campaign ops distinction. It's great if they can always pinch hit for each other. If someone's on PTO or there's just a lot of stuff coming in on one side or the other, they can step in. But I think they're very distinct in giving people that space. From what I've seen so far, just over the past 4 or 5 months here, is game changing if you have that resource available to you.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's always been kind of the struggle with ops, right? Is doing the strategic work and not getting stuck into kind of the everyday firefighting that can come up. So
and then
I like how
firefighting turns into something different. You still have the fires. They're still like, oh my gosh, we have to get this email out, or oh my gosh, this thing. But our campaign ops team is just starting to build up, and I'm just so excited about the strategic partnership they're going to build with product marketing and demand gen and growth and all of those customers they're serving regularly, of like, how can we deliver what we need? How can we build the emails, build the webinars? But like, if I have 2 full-time just campaign ops people, what else will they be capable of doing? Like, what other experimentation will they actually do? We talk a lot about experimenting with even just subject lines or content, but like, no one's really doing it that I see. We talk about it, but like, who has the time? No one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so do you believe in sort of a centralized approach or a decentralized approach when it comes to campaigns, right? Is your campaigns op team gonna centralize the creation, or are you giving still your marketers the control to execute?
Right now, we're going to centralize to strategically decentralize later. Right now, we're decentralized. We have a few people from every team logging in. We have 2 different sets of consultants helping us execute. So the impetus of hiring an internal campaign ops team is, 1, let's bring it all in. Let's wrap our arms around it. Let's really tighten up our templates, our token strategy, the intake process, our SLAs. Like, let's get it super tight and make it really repeatable where it should be repeatable, and very bespoke where it should be bespoke. And then once we get that really humming along, we look at, okay, what would the lift be to allow demand gen to come in and build these? And what kind of guide rails have we put in place where there is no concern about them doing that? What kind of QA process do we have? And right now, like, I think to get us to that point, we first have to pull it all in and get it tight ourselves and understand what's happening. And then slowly kind of build those guardrails for teams specifically with the proper training, the proper context to what they're doing, really solid lists to start their programs and projects from when they're sending things out. So I still like a centralized approach with a sort of guide rail solution for specific teams when the time is right.
Awesome. You mentioned growing your team. It's a tough job market out there right now. It's hard to find, especially in marketing ops. I'm curious your strategy there. Are you hiring people who already have all the experience? Do you hire for potential? And how do you find and entice people to join your team?
It is such a tough job market. So my heart goes out to all of the people hiring in marketing ops. And I've been really lucky. I had someone here that I inherited with the team, which is great. I brought someone with me who I've worked with multiple times, which is great. So I try to believe that my longevity of being a good leader will help me bring the right people in, but it is competitive. So the people I've hired on the team that are net new, I have been looking for experience. We're trying to move quickly. We have big goals this year. I don't have a lot of time to ramp people up. So I am looking for people with, whether it's 6 years of Marketo experience for a principal role or at least 1 year for a specialist role, just to ramp up really quickly. So I've been lucky enough to find the right people, but I've also lost some really great candidates to other really excellent people, because the market, more than anything, it's competitive, but more than that, it's moving quickly. So if you want to hire someone, you better get those interviews scheduled today and get that offer out tomorrow, because they already have 4 other offers they're holding on. Even if they want to work with you and you have a great feeling about each other, too little, too late. So I would say you move really quickly. But we have explored the idea of bringing in net new with potential. And that was, for our most recent hire, we had a candidate in mind, and we thought, if it doesn't work out, we're going to open this up to no years of experience, but look for people with the right, skill set and interest and problem solving. And it really has shined a light on the fact that there's no path to easy entry into marketing ops. I think we've all talked about that quite a bit. I know Highway Education is offering a really great program. I know some other consultants who are opening up their doors to allow people to shadow on calls just to get a feel for how this stuff works, which I think is amazing. But I still feel like this career that's given me so much, how do I give back? How do I help people break into this market? On one hand, it's allowing people with no experience to join the team and bring them in, which I'm open to. But more than that, how can I proactively go out and start helping people? Is it reaching out to the local community college and offering to come teach some classes and guest speak about what marketing operations is, to pique that interest? So I know that's a bit of a tangent on your original question. It's competitive, it's fast.
Yeah.
And I think all of us kind of veterans do owe kind of the new incoming class of people a way in, because there's not an easy way in. You can't go to Eloqua or Marketo or HubSpot, I don't think, and just be like, give me a free instance so I can teach myself this. There's some ways in, but it's not easy.
They haven't really evolved to the stage of a Salesforce with Trailhead and everything, which I think is necessary. I love what Toby is doing at Highway. I think Highway
I've sent people that way, that I've met some young people who want to get in. I was just it's not a fit for us, but please check this out. I hear nothing but good things there, and it's worth the investment.
Yeah, we've hired at Revenue Pulse, hired a bunch of students from the highway program, and they've been amazing in it. But yeah, I think we have so much further to go with like highways scaling that out and having, yeah, maybe at one point universities that teach this
Like, how
curriculum.
are
I don't think
universities
these
not teaching
jobs.
a class like CRM and marketing automation
Yeah,
101? Like,
yeah,
it's such a lucrative career early because there's such a high demand. It's so competitive for us to hire them. Like, the amount of money companies are willing to pay someone with 1 year of, Marketo or
oh yeah.
Eloqua or HubSpot experience is a great first job. Like, way more money than I would have been making or did make coming out of college. And it's just like, how do I help more young people get
Yeah.
this great career start?
I
We had
always thought
kind of,
I should have not gone to university and just studied Marketo and
right.
Salesforce for 4 years, and I would have been way
But I mean,
further
like,
ahead.
most kids come out of school, don't even know what these tools are. Maybe Salesforce gets mentioned. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been in
Yeah,
school, but like, I feel like we're failing the kids a little bit. We need to bring them
could
into
do
the
better
fold.
there. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit more on this topic. So, and it's just so interesting hearing your story, Kimmy, right? Where like marketing ops wasn't a thing. You found a job that was willing to hire you to do it full time. Now you're building teams around it.
Mm-hmm.
And the latest Martech, I think it's the 10,000 now. There's
Yeah.
10,000 different software companies. Apparently, I don't know who 9,950
Yeah.
of them
Right.
are,
Exactly.
yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But clearly, it is not going anywhere. We're going to need people who can help and specialize in this for a long time.
Yeah.
But when you look at how much tech is out there now, do you have a process that you like to follow when it comes to implementing and architecting your Martech stack?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people throw this phrase around, and I definitely agree with it. Like, don't let tech drive the strategy, let strategy drive the tech. And I think that's solid advice. Like, if you have something you want to do, or you just see a demo that looks really cool, like, unless you have an actual need and then a strategy to both implement, execute, and to carry on, and that usually comes with people, then it's not the time. I'm looking at that right now. We have a tool, we have Drift, and it was here when I arrived. It's a great tool. I think Drift's awesome. We're not seeing a lot of value out of Drift, but it has nothing to do with the tool. It has everything to do with Drift was implemented. No one is really a true owner of the strategy of how we're using Drift. No one's truly owning the playbooks that we're setting up, how that workflow is working across the teams, what goes where. And it's like, we were up for renewal and everyone's like, yeah, we want to renew. And I'm like, okay, but we have to commit to the strategy of this tool. Or again, we're going to be here in a year from now being like, well, we don't want to rip it out, but like, we haven't done anything with it. So I think for me, it's all about when I'm thinking about building the tech stack, who are the owners, not just one person, but multiple people. And maybe there's a primary admin, but like, who else needs to be involved in running this tool strategically? Do we have something that is repetitive? And that answer can sometimes be yes, but that's okay. But understand what is overlapping and why, and then how you're going to differentiate between those things. And then looking at the tech stack, what do we have that's not working well? And sometimes maybe it needs re-implemented, maybe it needs tweaked, such as my Drift example. But then sometimes the tool just isn't a fit for the organization. And although it can be painful to rip a tool out and replace it, sometimes that is the answer. But when you decide to do that, is everyone on board? Does everyone understand the impact? Does everyone understand the workload? We're doing that right now with a platform. We're taking it out and replacing it with a preferred platform by many people. And it's like, I'm excited because the platform we're putting in is my preference, but we have to like pull on all of those threads. And we're doing that now as we decommission the other platform of like, wow, this is really stickier than we expected. And we need to make sure we have a plan for that. And when I think about net new technology, I love bringing new tech in. But it's, for me, my really important things are like, what is the integration? And then am I vetting what that integration looks and feels like with other users? Because what they show you in the demo is often not actually what the integration is like. So vetting it with other people, getting their feedback, what are their pain points, what's their support experience like, all of the things that don't come across in the demo on a shiny object. What's the real experience like of being this customer? Like, we could really need the tool, we could fall in love with it, but if kind of the references aren't there, so note to all MarTech vendors, make sure it's all working, and your customers will say that. That's what will like kind of really seal the deal for me.
As a MarTech vendor, this kind of stuff really drives me crazy because I personally cannot even imagine putting something out there saying like, we have an integration to something and it doesn't work. But I know that this unfortunately happens way too often.
At a prior job last year, we put an event platform over another one. Great. Looks awesome. All the boxes are checked. And then we go to actually integrate it. And it's like, oh, the integration's currently broken. Wait, what? Like, when will it be unbroken? It's with engineering. We'll get back to you. It's like, what? We literally just signed a contract on this 2 weeks ago. What is going on? So yeah, it happens. And it's really scary.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And you know, thankfully now there are Slack communities, there's LinkedIn, there's lots of ways to be able to vet vendors, and definitely.
I think about some of the Slack communities that you and I are both probably a part of like, wow, a vendor would really love to get in here. It's definitely our safe haven, which is much appreciated and needed. But I really do count on my colleagues and my peers in the space and their feedback, good and bad. I also, sometimes I'll see people getting hyped about a tool that I don't have and maybe haven't thought about buying, but I see how excited people are about it. And it prompts me to take a look and think, oh, you know what, maybe we could benefit from this. And that's not the only reason I would then go and purchase it and implement it, but that also kind of helps things rise to the top of interest and effectiveness for me.
Yep. Yeah, the days of just relying on an analyst to tell you if software is good are definitely behind us.
Yeah. Have you ever called like an analyst to ask about MarTech? Like, is that something you ever do?
Personally, never. But
I've never done it.
It was interesting last week at B2B Summit.
Yeah.
I was in a couple of sessions, and now this is an analyst event, so who knows if these are planted statements. But a couple of the large enterprise customers talked about how they checked with analysts before making their purchase. And I think and I actually spoke with one of the speakers after, like, do you really do that? Or are you just saying that because you're speaking at their event? But she did tell me that they definitely do talk to them and kind of use it as just another check, right? Okay. Like, sure, you might go to the Slack communities, you go on LinkedIn, you talk to your peers, but then using the analysts as like maybe a bit of an insurance policy as well if something goes wrong.
Yeah. And I've been in a really big organization via acquisition, so I never really got to that point, but I could see why some massive would. That's like a big liability for them to buy like an enterprise license to something. I think that's really where that role is still plays a factor. But to your point, no, personally, no, I have never done that. Even when I was at IBM, called Gartner or Forrester, ABM platforms. I've never done
it. So speaking about B2B Summit, I'm curious on your take now on in-person events. There's some conferences that are getting started up again. I'm curious on two sides, both you as a marketer, are there any shows that you think you would attend? And then also maybe in your in your day-to-day and on marketing strategy for Expel, are you looking at in person again?
Yeah. For Expel, we are definitely open to in person. We have RSA coming up, which was rescheduled from earlier this year. So as a security organization, that's kind of like
That's the
our
one. I
big
remember
show.
that one.
So RSA conference is coming up, and that's a big one. So we'll be there. So I think our team is definitely open in person. Our field team's starting to build out a bit from a bandwidth perspective and start looking at what's possible. I think the tricky thing for our team is you just have to be so flexible. Like you have no idea what is going to happen, what could happen, what's going to go virtual, what's going to go hybrid. I don't envy that team. Like what a difficult job to do in this kind of brave new world that we're living in of in-person events being back. But, things can change within, 10 days before an event. Like the news changes and people completely change their point of view. So I think they're definitely open to it and planning on it. And they're just kind of going to go with the flow as much as you can as an event manager. So my heart is with them. And as an ops team, we're seeing how we have to support them. We have to be really flexible about sending emails about date changes, canceling events that need to be canceled, being really flexible for them. So it certainly is impacting our campaign ops team, but we're kind of like being as empathetic as possible, knowing that it's so outside of our control.
Yes.
From a personal perspective, I'm open to going to in-person events again. But I also feel like we've really benefited from the event strategy being flexible. I do love a hybrid event. It fits really well into my life currently. It's easier for me to do a half-day virtual event and then still be able to do soccer carpool after work and not have to figure out all of that logistics. But I also would love to get off site and get to an actual in-person event this year because it does sort of change the way you're experiencing the event. I'm actually away from my desk and I have my out of office up and I'm really focused on the content and I'm not juggling it between different meetings and things like that. So I'm a big fan at this point in my career. Like I love Martech Conference. I think the quality of the content is really applicable. I would like to go to MopsCon this year. And then for me, I'm focusing more on things outside of just marketing ops. Like at this level, I'm thinking about like, how can I become a more strategic business leader? And then think about how I apply that to marketing and then how I apply that to the marketing ops and strategy team. So I'm just kind of opening up my world now of like, what could be effective for me that resonates, but also pushes me a bit outside of my comfort zone from an education point of view. So I'm kind of looking for like what's next. So if anyone that listens to this has that, please find me and let me know.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a bit of a rapid fire section here that we ask everybody. So the first one is, what's one marketing trend that you would unsubscribe from?
Bad direct mail. Stop sending me wine. I don't drink alcohol. Like, get smarter about direct mail.
Is email dead?
No, never.
What do you do for fun?
I would say I make the most fun I can out of living vicariously through my children's activities, baseball, soccer, swimming, all of those things. But when I do have a minute for fun, getting out, going to a fancy coffee shop, drinking coffee, like chatting with my husband, going for a hike at the Metro Park, like literally just like an hour away of not being responsible for like keeping people alive or taking care of my team is really fun for me. And I love to binge watch TV. Like I have like one episode of Ozark left and I am like itching to get on the couch tonight and like finish it. So like I love binge watching TV if it's good.
Nice. Who is one person in the business community that you admire and why?
Gosh, there's so many. And this is going to come off as a little cheesy, but I have someone on my team named Lauren, and she's really incredible. She's very talented. She's our platform ops manager, and she's kind of one of those people that I have mentored for a number of years, taught everything I know to. And I admire her like tenacity, the ability that she's taken, like what I've taught her and taken it like 1,000 levels better. The grace in which she's handled some really difficult work situations we have found ourselves in. This is our 4th time working together. So, you know, I don't know what she would say. Maybe she would say the same about me, but like she has been like my go-to person for a number of years. So she's someone I really admire the work of.
Amazing. What's one piece of career advice that you'd like to share that you might think could help others?
I would tell people, and I do tell people this, like, do what is best for you, whether it's taking a job, whether it's quitting a job, whether it's asking for more money, whether it's taking less money because a job will make you happier with your family. Like at the end of the day, I work at an incredible organization, but at the end of the day, this is a job and this is a company that's employing me. And I always need to do what's best for me and for my family and my wellness and my happiness and my career and all of those things. So I've left places and had to leave my whole team behind, which was devastating. And I felt so much guilt. And I probably stayed longer than I should have for myself because I was worried about those people. But as soon as I realized, like, if not me, then who will set this example? It kind of all clicked in for me of like, I always need to do what's best for me. If I'm doing it with like warmth and competence and being true to myself, then it's all going to work out for me. And I can't be a bull to carry everyone else's feelings. I need to be a colander to be there for people and feel it and let it go through me and still focus on what's best for me. So do what's best for you, everyone.
Awesome advice. Last one. Who else should we interview on the Unsubscribe podcast?
Oh my gosh. Has Courtney been on yet? Courtney Macara?
No.
Okay. My girl Courtney's got to be on.
Yeah.
She's also someone I greatly admire in this work and in this world. I've never been brave enough to go out on my own as a consultant, and she's kind of my guru, and I love hyping her up.
Amazing. Courtney, expect a call.
Yeah.
Kimi, this was a lot of fun. It was great walking down the memory lane of Marketo, hearing about how you got into marketing ops and how you've grown your career, and now you're building your own teams, how you go about thinking about how to add tech to your MarTech stack, and just where this future of this crazy space is going. I've learned a lot. It's been a great chat. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Having me.
Thanks for listening to Unsubscribed, a podcast created by NAC. If you enjoyed this episode of Unsubscribed, be sure to subscribe to my podcast and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. If you have any feedback or want to chat, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or follow me on Twitter at marketing_101. Cheers.